are going to do one of my favorite summer slash springtime gnocchi dishes. I think you can have this throughout the summer and the spring. These are English peas. What we're going to do is we're going to use a little bit of a mint and marjoram faux pesto. There are no nuts, there's no cheese, but it's a mix of mint and marjoram. Some nice ricotta gnocchi right here. We have our English peas. I'm going to shave a little bit of Parmesan on top. Niçoise olives. This is kind of be like, in a way, Sicilian. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put together the ricotta gnocchi. I have some egg yolk. I have some salt, a little nutmeg, some Parmesan cheese, and some ricotta cheese here. So I've kind of, I'm just using cow's milk ricotta cheese. One of the most important things to note about this is that this was put in cheesecloth overnight to let as much water drain out as possible. If you don't do that, then it's going to be very, very difficult to get this to be light without using a lot of flour. Just mix around a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil because I like to put olive oil in gnocchi. I like to put it in pasta. I like to put olive oil. I really like olive oil. You can do this. We're going to do this by hand. You could certainly do this in a food, like in a KitchenAid with a paddle attachment. That works. You could do it in a food processor. After this is mixed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the ricotta cheese, right? I'm going to go ahead and move this around. The egg yolk in to the ricotta along with the salt. There's also a little bit of salt in this as well, and I have a little bit of pepper. So now that I have that, I'm going to add my flour. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm using 00 flour, which I think really helps the cause here. And all you're doing is just bringing this together. Particularly with gnocchi, a lot of times gnocchi has a tendency to be very, very heavy and kind of like a little, they call them sinkers, right? The idea here is to use as little flour as possible. You still need the dough to come together, but you don't want to use too much flour. All right, so we're going to go ahead and roll this. I like rolling it on a wooden board. If you have one, great. I'm going to dip my hands in a little bit of flour. And what I'm going to do, you can use a dough scraper to do this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just give it a gentle roll here. So that's going to be really thick, right? And if you can't handle this dough, if you can't handle the dough, if you can't handle the dough, then add a little more flour. All right, so I'm going to cut. I don't have a dough scraper, so this is what I have. There's a lot of excess flour here, which is good because we haven't really used too much flour to put these together, but we do need flour to roll it. And if it gets a little bulbous on one side, then take your hand over here, just give it a nice little massage, if you will. That's not bad. This is about where you want it. That's about the size that I like. So, just a little press. Boom. Done. Now we're going to get these on a sheet tray and I'm going to put them in the freezer. And then we're going to blanch them. If you try to blanch them right now, they're going to fall apart and that's going to be the end of the story. So now we're going to blanch these gnocchi. They just were in the freezer for about an hour and you can see, you can hear that. And that's going to allow us to get into the water, retain the shape. So I'm going to start dropping them in. I'm sort of doing this. And the object here, obviously bring the heat all the way up. As you drop ice cold gnocchi into the water, even though there's an abundance of water, you're going to bring the temp down, or I'm going to bring the temp down right now. So, general rule of thumb would be when the gnocchi comes up, meaning it's floating all the way, it's sinking right now down to the bottom of the water. It's hard to tell because it's kind of murky in there, but as it comes up and it hits the top of the surface, that is generally when they're done. And then we're going to drop them in ice water to shock them and stop them from cooking. All right, so here we go. Gnocchi have come up to the top. This is when we're going to pull that top layer. All right, so now we're going to get ready to shell our English peas. They're these beautiful English peas that often associated with springtime. I still think they're good to eat in the summertime. This is what they look like, obviously, when they come out of the pod. And I'm sort of going to do this on my own. What you're really looking to do, see there's a top right there, is to just pull that, and that whole seam, it's going to come out like a string all the way down. All right, so the water's moving nicely. What I want to do right now is salt it, and I also salt my ice water anytime I do vegetables, because it's going to come out of the water. Boom, peas go in. Now this is called blanching, but a couple of reasons why we want to do this. We did this with our sauce, our mint and marjoram sauce for the gnocchi. I'm going to do this with the vegetables, babe, because we want to cook them, right? We don't want to put raw vegetables when we pick up the gnocchi, but we also want to release the chlorophyll in the vegetables. So these peas don't take a lot of time. All right, that's looking good. I'll transfer right to the ice. Boom. And then we make sure that we move that around so there are no hot spots. Done. Marjoram is, as I've said before, I think the slightly sexier version of oregano. That doesn't, I'm not trying to diss oregano, but this is fresh marjoram. It's like perfume on this. Okay, anyway. So what I want to do when I do this oil is I want to blanch the mint. I'm going to blanch and shock the mint. And what I'm looking to do is really release and bring out the chlorophyll in the mint. Right into the ice water, a pinch of salt, which I always do to all of these oils. Squeeze. Out of control. Uh-oh, Bobby's going out of control. I'm going to add some of this. I blanched the peas, which you saw earlier as well. And I heat everything up. These gnocchi were blanched as well. And what we're doing is we're just going to slide them in. I just want to coat them. I'm going to warm them up. At the very end, I want to add my olives. With the nice ratio of peas with olive, and there we go. Just like that. Like that. So now I just want to give a little dollop of ricotta cheese right on top. Right on top. Just a touch of oil on the ricotta cheese. A little bit of marjoram. So I'm just finishing right now with a little bit more of the mint and marjoram oil. This is a ricotta gnocchi with niçoise olives, mint and marjoram oil, a little bit of shaved Parmesan cheese, and marjoram on top. It's a great summertime dish. Drink a little white wine. Eat ricotta gnocchi.